Hi everybody, FPL Witty here, back for another of my weekly FPL videos. Hope you're well. If it's the first one that you've seen, then it's good to have you here. I'll be doing these once a week. If you've been watching them regularly, then it's good that you're sticking with it. So the idea is that we get out once a week, have a chat about FPL, have a natter about some of the key issues, have a look at the last game week that's gone by, and have a look ahead as well. And we do so while we're out in the Yorkshire countryside. Keeps me fit, keeps me out of trouble. Hope you've had a good week yourself. It's been a difficult week, of course, with the events with the royal family. We had the Queen's funeral. I'm recording this on Tuesday morning on the back of game week 8. So hope you've had a good week yourself outside of FPL. I've had a birthday during the week, and I've had my hair cut for the occasion, so a bit of a savage one this morning. So yeah, we finally got some FPL after game week 7 was completely wiped out. We did manage 7 games in game week 8, but there was a lot of speculation really at the start of the week, wasn't there? A lot of uncertainty about which games would go ahead, particularly the London-based games. So in the end, it was not so much the London-based games that went as the ones that the police deemed as perhaps the games that needed more policing, the higher security games. So we lost Manchester United Leeds, of course, even though that's well away from Manchester. It is a high-profile match between two big rivals. So that was lost, and the only game in London that we lost in the end was Chelsea-Liverpool, wasn't it? Of course, we did still lose Brighton Palace, which wasn't rearranged. In the light of the games that were off, you could see perhaps now why it wasn't rearranged. Brighton Palace are big rivals, bit of a policing resource again, that one. So yeah, we got seven games in the end, so what it meant is that we were all scratching around to put a team together. Quite a few players from that Chelsea-Liverpool game, Brighton players. So it was a bit of a struggle really, wasn't it, for a lot of us? A few took hits to get a team out. So yeah, but I mean the games themselves, we had some good action really, didn't we? The headline, of course, was the 6 goals for Spurs, wasn't it really? 6-2. Cracking game of football. If you captain Harry Kane, then full credit to you. If you captain Kane against Haaland, that was a great result for you. It was a good fixture, admittedly, so full credit if you got that. I think as Harry scored or returned in every game since the opening days now, so certainly doing the business is Harry Kane, so well done if you captained him. The headline, of course, was Son, wasn't he? So it was widely expected, really, that he'd start the game on the bench. Most of the stories were saying that he would. So he came off, and despite not scoring all season, last year's Golden Boot winner finally found his touch. First player to score a hat-trick off the bench for, is it 7 years? But the finishing was ridiculous, wasn't it? So well done if you made that switch from Salah, who wasn't playing. So he's now thrown as a bit of a curveball, really, hasn't he, Son? So well done if you're on him, but great to see. He's a very popular guy, really, isn't he? I think even if you don't own him, you've got to be pleased for him with that hat-trick after the start he's had. Bit of a tough look if you're a Perisic owner. He gets an assist, has another assist disallowed, and then he gets hauled off early and booked after he's been taken off and scores 2 points. But very unlucky. I thought Perisic looked great, so that was a bizarre one. But yeah, Arsenal marching on at the top, aren't they? Everybody thought they might struggle at Brentford. Not struggle, but it's always a tough place to go, really, isn't it? Arsenal got turned over there 3-0 last season, I remember. So it was absolute stroll for them, really, wasn't it? Probably a measure of how far Arsenal have come, really, I think, in the last 12 months. Another goal for Jesus, he's ticking along. Second highest owned player. A lot of people sold him on wildcard. He's got some tough fixtures coming up. Worth noting that Jesus is now on 4 yellow cards, so he's 1 game away from a ban. Something just to think about. 3 blanks in 4 for Martinelli now, but no concerns there. I think he's still great value. A couple of assists for Saka, which was good to see. So the big headline, of course, was Saliba, wasn't it? A 15-pointer with his goal and clean sheet. I've noticed that Saliba's the most bought player now ahead of game week 9. To me, that's a bit of a bizarre one. I think inevitably people will buy him because he's scored so highly, but I think when you look beyond that, he now faces the attacks of Tottenham and Liverpool, and he's got a blank in game week 12, so personally I think that ship's sailed and you've missed those points really, but there you go. But yeah, cracking win for the Arsenal juggernaut at the top. So Manchester City keeping track, of course. It helps when you score in the first minute, but an equally comfortable 3-0 win at Wolves. A couple of goals for Kevin De Bruyne. A lot made that switch from Mo Salah this week, so that worked out well. Another goal for Haaland. I think we're running out of things to say about Haaland, aren't we? Incredibly, he's averaged now 10 points a game, Haaland, which I think as a permanent captain you'd take that every week, wouldn't you? 10 points. So I know he was outscored by like Kane, for example, this week, but I think if you stick it on Haaland every week, even on a tough fixture, average 10 points a week, then you're going to get those returns, aren't you? So incredible. His touch let him down. I thought he could have had another hat-trick. Every game we're saying that. Most people will have been on Cancelo, a lot of people anyway. There was talk about Cancelo perhaps losing a lot of his bonus point potential when Haaland joined. But even though Haaland and De Bruyne were getting the attacking returns, it was Cancelo that hoovered up the bonus points again, wasn't it? So I think with Manchester City having the best defence, every time they get a clean sheet, Cancelo seems to get in the bonus points. Then I think certainly if you don't own Cancelo at the moment, then I think you need to. Cracking player. So yeah, aside from that, we all bought Mitrovic, inevitably. And of course, he blanked. Fulham scored 3 goals. We were all on Mitrovic and Andreas this week. Everybody bought Mitrovic, particularly on wildcard. And he goes and blanks when Fulham score 3. So he can score against Liverpool, Arsenal and Tottenham, but he blanks against Nottingham Forest. So that was always going to happen, wasn't it? Inevitable. The popular double Newcastle clean sheet, that was lost. We had pretty uneventful wins for Villa, 1-0 Friday night. And Everton saw off West Ham, who are still struggling, aren't they? Bowen's a shadow of the player he was last season. Quite a few bought him in this week. Thought it was a bit unlucky, to be honest, but there you go, another blank for Bowen. So yeah, plenty of action. How did I do? Well, I went into the week like a lot of people on scratching around for players. I used my 2 free transfers that I planned a couple of weeks ago, really, for Trippier in for Robertson and Mitrovic in for Archer. But I was hit quite hard by postponements. A couple of Brighton players, 3 Liverpool players, Chelsea player. So I looked at my team last week, and realistically I was looking at a -4 to get 11 out. And those 11 players really included Ward, or should I say Ward-Nil, his new name. So taking -4 for 11 players that included Ward and De Silva was effectively taking -4 for 9 players. So I could only see a red arrow really in that. So I just didn't like the look at that at all. Or particularly about the way I could jump onto some of the the fixture players over the next few weeks, so I could only see a red arrow, so I didn't want to go into the international break on a big arrow, so I decided to play the wild card. So I was going to play probably in game week 9 anyway over the international break. I know game week 13 is another popular one, but yeah, game week 9 will be popular, so I played it early rather than field a suboptimal team this week. Worked out well. I got 6 returns. I got the Man City trio of Haaland, De Bruyne, Cancelo. I got Trippier, I got Maddison, who I thought, despite Leicester looking woeful in that defeat at Tottenham, I thought Maddison looked really good. He got 1 goal, he could have had a couple more, he could easily have had a 20-pointer, so I got Maddison, very pleased to be owning him. And I got Isak. Incredible really that I sold Jesus on wildcard and I got Isak outscore him, so I certainly got away with that one. I'd ordered about 15 pairs of Marks and Spencer's underpants for that Arsenal game, so that wasn't a good watch, consequence of my wild card. But anyway, I got away with it, so it worked well. 61 points. So whereas if my non-wild card team would have been 14 points worse off, so if I'd not played the wild card, I would have been on, I'd have had a rank drop from 140 down to 320, which would have been a nasty little red going into the international break. In the end, I played the wild card and got a green arrow up to 105k. So I was at 200,000 places better off by playing the wild card, so I think that's justified it. Momentum is everything as well. I've gone into the international break now on 6 out of 7 green arrows and 100,000 rank, top 1%. So I was very pleased with how the wild card went. So yeah, we're now into an international break, 2 weeks. So if you're on wild card, then I would suggest you make those transfers pretty quickly, capture some of those prices. If you're not, then I would stay well away from transfers. Make no transfers at all for 2 weeks. Loads can happen in that international break with injuries, so I'd leave it well alone. So what we'll do, we've had this week's games this week, so I want to put one of these videos out once a week. So I'll be back next week where we'll talk more about game week 9, when a lot of people will be wildcarding, so we'll have a look ahead to that. So I hope you enjoy the international break. If you want to watch my videos, I'll be back every week. If you want to follow my team more closely, I'll write weekly articles for Fantasy Football Geek, and you can find me on Twitter at FPL Witty. And as I say, I'll be back doing these videos, and we'll be back next week where we'll have a look ahead to game week 9, so that'll be quite interesting. I'll try and have a look at a few players that perhaps ought to be on the wildcard list if you're playing your wildcard next week. I know game week 13 will be a popular wildcard as well, which with the blank for Arsenal and Manchester City in 12, it's a good chance to run those players down and buy them back in 13. So certainly that was something I had to balance when I played my wildcard this week, but I'm glad I did. So I just wanted to get into that international break with a bit of momentum. I think psychologically that can help make better decisions if you're in a positive position. So yeah, I hope you have a good week. Enjoy the international football if you like that. There'll be no Premier League, but have a good week. Look after yourself. Don't panic if you're in a bad position rank wise. So many people I've seen this week were finished in the top 10k last year, we're outside the top million after 12-15 weeks, so take hope from that. So hope you have a good week. I'll be back next week, and as they say in Barnsley, I'll see thee.